Watch this. A press slams down on a Cybertruck panel, forms a curve, then lifts. The steel springs back flat. This bulletproof alloy fights the press every time. One alloy, 5 failures. Here's the thing every other car gets for free. A normal steel body is soft. A press squeezes flat sheets into doors, fenders, curves in seconds. Tesla picked a stainless steel so hard it breaks that century-old playbook. And that one choice locked in both the flat, angular look and every headache on the line. The material is the design. Failure 1, Springback. Take a paperclip. Bend it a little and it snaps back straight. That's elastic. Bend it hard and it stays. That's permanent. Stamping a car panel needs the permanent kind. The press pushes the steel past its limit so the shape holds when the die opens. But the Cybertruck's stainless is engineered to have a huge elastic range. It fights being pushed past that limit. So when the press forms a curve and lifts, the panel does what the paperclip does with a gentle bend. It springs back toward flat. The engineering term is high yield strength. The point where metal stops springing back and stays bent is way up there. That's exactly what makes the alloy tough. It's also exactly why you can't press a lasting compound curve into it. So the truck is built from panels that are nearly flat, with straight edges. A normal fender gets its swooping curve in one press stroke and keeps it forever. Try that here and the panel just laughs and flattens out. The look isn't a mood board. It's the only shape this steel will agree to hold. Which raises the next problem. If you can't press it, how do you even cut it? Failure 2, you can't cut it the easy way either. Now the why. A stamping press does 2 jobs. It shapes metal and it punches parts out, blade through sheet, 1 stroke done. Ordinary car steel gives way to hardened dies like scissors through paper. This stainless doesn't. It's so hard the dies wear and chip trying to shear it. So Tesla switched to a laser, a focused beam that burns straight through the metal along a programmed line. That solves the hardness. It also swaps one set of problems for another. A stamping press spits out a finished part in a single punch, fast, cheap per piece at huge volumes. A laser traces every edge, panel by panel. It's slower per panel, and heat from the beam can scorch the cut edge, leaving a darkened burn line the assembly has to work around. There's a tell you can see. Look at the truck. Every edge is a straight line or a shallow bend. That's not styling. A laser draws clean straight cuts beautifully. It can't press a curved lip the way a die does. The tooling wrote the shape. But say you've cut all your flat panels perfectly. Now you have to make them fit together. Failure 3, the gaps. Here's a trick every car maker uses without telling you. A curved panel hides its own mistakes. That gentle dome across a hood, engineers call it crown, flexes a hair and swallows small errors so the seam next to it still looks even. A flat, rigid stainless panel has no crown to give. It can't flex to close a gap. So whatever error creeps in from cutting or assembly shows up as an uneven line between panels, and your eye goes straight to it. It gets worse. On a normal car, a technician can nudge a soft panel, add a skim of filler, then paint over the fix and it vanishes. You can't quietly reshape a slab of hard stainless in final assembly, and there's no paint to bury the correction under. The error just sits there in plain metal. This is the source of all those early photos. Trucks with panel gaps you could lose a coin in, one side tight, the other wide. Not sloppiness exactly. It's a flat, rigid material demanding a precision that curved, painted steel never had to hit, because the curve and the paint were doing the forgiving. Which points straight at the next failure. That bare metal skin has nowhere to hide anything. Failure 4, no paint, nowhere to hide. Direct question. When did you last see a car's bare metal? Almost never. Every normal car body wears layers. Primer to smooth it, color coat, clear coat on top. That stack does more than add shine. It fills tiny scratches, hides forming marks, and covers whatever the metal did on its way through the factory. The Cybertruck skips all of it. The stainless is the finish. That's the whole point of the raw look, and it's brutally unforgiving. Every fingerprint shows. Every smudge, every hairline scratch, every faint mark left by forming the panel stays visible, because there's no primer or clear coat sitting on top to bury it. What another car hides under 3 layers, this truck wears out loud. Owners even reported rust-colored orange spotting blooming on the surface of a body sold as stainless. Tiny specks of iron from the factory air settling on the metal and oxidizing. On a painted car, you'd never see it. The clear coat seals the surface. Here the surface is the surface. So the very choice that gives the truck its unmistakable metal skin also strips away the layer every other car uses to look flawless. And there's one more place that bare, hard metal fights back, where the panels get joined. Failure 5, joining it all together. Here's where the heat turns on you. To build a normal car body, robots spot weld soft steel. Quick zaps fuse the panels, and because they're getting painted anyway, a little distortion or discoloration disappears under the finish. Try that with hard, thin, flat stainless, and the heat becomes the enemy. Concentrated welding heat warps a thin, flat panel. It buckles or waves where it was dead straight. And on stainless, that heat leaves a permanent rainbow-colored scorch mark right at the joint. Remember, there's no paint, so you can't sand the warp smooth and hide the burn under primer the way you would on ordinary steel. The mark stays. The waviness stays. Every joining problem lands on a surface that shows everything. That's a big reason Tesla couldn't just build this like a normal car, where a hidden steel skeleton gets soft panels spot welded on and painted over. The hard panels themselves had to carry the structure. An exoskeleton strength on the outside, like a crab's shell instead of our inner bones. Rethought from the frame out. Because the one thing you can't do to this steel is quietly fix it after the fact. So 5 separate failures, and every one of them traces back to a single decision. Now watch it all click into one cause. Springback, cutting, panel gaps, the bare finish, the weldings, 5 different problems on the factory floor, and every single one grows from the same root. Tesla deliberately chose an ultra-hard stainless alloy. That one decision broke stamping, defeated the cutting dies, killed the crown that hides gaps, removed the paint that buries flaws, and turned welding heat into a scar you can't cover. The flat, angular, raw metal Cybertruck isn't a designer's whim that happened to be hard to build. The material forced the shape. Only flat panels, straight cuts, bare surface, and exoskeleton frame because the steel refused everything else. And here's the payoff of that opening image. The exact same property behind the rebound. The springback that snaps a formed panel flat is what makes the alloy so tough and dent-resistant. The thing that makes it hard to stamp is the thing that makes it strong. You can't have one without the other. So here's the one thing to carry out of this. When a product looks strange, the shape is often a fingerprint of the material, not a stylist's mood. Hard steel wants straight lines and flat faces. Soft steel allows curves. Next time you see a design that looks unusual, a phone, a chair, a building, ask what the stuff it's made of would and wouldn't let the makers do. 9 times out of 10, the material picked the shape before the designer ever did. One line to keep. The same hardness that resists a press also resists a stamping line. You can't beat physics into a curve. So here's the next open box. That alloy is a nightmare to build. But how does it actually behave in a crash when all that stiffness meets a wall? And was the manufacturing headache worth it? That's the next teardown.